Today I'm reacting to your Friday Night Smackdown Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, Smackdown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And just as a heads up, we'll also be doing this for after Saturday night's main event. I know there's a question as to whether or not that counts as a Premium Live event, but for the purposes of this, we're gonna count it. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And if you are looking for our review of this episode of Friday Night Smackdown, it's already up and available with footage over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we upload the Smackdown reviews, Raw reviews, and so much more content that never gets uploaded here because we actually use footage over there and it would just get blocked due to copyright here. So go ahead, go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. Let's read your stupid shit. Phoenix shouldn't be eating pins this soon. So the second that Rey Fenix joined the WWE, I could tell from a mile away that WWE didn't see him as valuable of a singles asset as Penta. Penta was significantly more protected and more pushed upon his debut. I think that WWE sees Phoenix's overall end goal and value to the company as a member of the Lucha Brothers. I feel like that's inevitably where things are going to go, and maybe that's why they're not really pushing Rey Fenix anywhere near as hard as Penta. Hell, ever since Rey Fenix joined the WWE, I feel like Penta's stock has kind of gone down and WWE isn't pushing him or protecting him anywhere near as much as they used to. In fact, now Penta's constantly having to deal with multiple people at the same time, which I think is just sort of setting us up for the perfect reunion of the Lucha Brothers, which I think is a shame. I would have loved for WWE to explore Rey Fenix more as a single star, much like they did with Penta, to see if Rey Fenix can properly get over as a singles act like Penta did on his onset the second he debuted. But if I'm reading the tea leaves and trying to give an educated guess, to me, I think the WWE is just sort of counting down the days to reunite Penta and Rey Fenix, which sucks, man, because I would have loved to see Rey Fenix in the Money in the Bank ladder match. That guy would have been able to do some absolutely nutty, insane things in there. I hope that Penta makes it in. I know this match is gonna be great, don't get me wrong, but I am so done with steel cage matches. There shouldn't be a rule that allows you to escape to win. That defeats the purpose of a cage. Escaping should equal forfeiture. I just need this match to end inside the cage, please. So I've always had this complaint about WWE steel cage matches. I've always thought that the idea of the cage match was that it was a match so dangerous and so brutal that the cage is used to keep them inside. But instead, most of the time, it devolves into the heel trying to escape the cage and winning by climbing or getting through the door. I've always thought that the ability to win by escaping was always dumb, but it has been there basically since the beginning of cage matches existences in the WWE. So I guess I don't blame them, but I would love for cage matches to be strictly won via pinfall or submission. So I'm with you. I hope that this match does end inside the cage, but I also think that we have two performers that don't want to escape the cage. If I see Drew McIntyre being a little bitch boy heel and trying to escape the cage, that's just gonna hurt his overall aura, his overall presentation as this scary dude that wants to get into as many fights as possible. And we certainly shouldn't be seeing Damian Priest trying to escape, considering he's the Street King. He's the guy that wants to fight you anywhere at any time. So I hope that we have a fun, brutal, violent, safe match inside the cage that ends in the cage. I also hope that this is the end of this. I would love to see Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, for that matter, just go do different things. I feel like they're talking about how Drew McIntyre is stuck in the Damian Priest vortex and Damian Priest is in the Drew McIntyre vortex. Let's get them both out of there and let's have them do brand new, fresh things. And honestly, we kind of need them doing new, fresh things, considering WWE has about 1 trillion WWE Premium Live events coming up over the next several weeks. Not gonna lie, I was surprised that Phoenix took the pin instead of Jimmy. I would have much rather have Phoenix win so he can be fully showcased in Money in the Bank scenarios. Damn it, WWE. Yeah, so we kind of talked about this. It would have been nice to have, you know, the high flyer, the guy that has a tremendous resume of awesome ladder matches across the industry in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Maybe there's still an opportunity. I know that in previous years, WWE has done last chance qualifiers. Maybe they'll do that here. But as of right now, I'm operating under the impression that Rey Fenix will not be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And I feel like that's a huge shame. I know I also talked about the fact that I don't think WWE sees the same value in single stardom in Rey Fenix as Penta, but why are they having him take this pin almost unnecessarily? No disrespect to Jimmy Uso, but Jimmy's kind of doing nothing. He's been hanging out with R-Truth been injured, him eating a pin here wouldn't have damaged him in any way, shape, or form because he was already at ground zero. Meanwhile, we're trying to build Rey Fenix, and him taking these pinfalls, it just kind of continues to set him back time after time and doesn't really get the runway to properly feel like he's getting a push or getting some momentum. So I agree with you. I feel like the wrong person took the pin. I feel like the safest option and honestly the most logical option to eat the pin here should have been Jimmy Uso, especially to give Solo Sikoa a little bit more heat, you know, taking out his own brother to qualify for Money in the Bank. I thought it was right there for the taking, but no, instead they sacrificed Rey Fenix, which is a very curious decision for sure. I actually wouldn't mind Solo winning Money in the Bank. I feel like he could be a main event guy, and him winning can definitely rocket strap him into being that. Also, he is very underrated on the mic. Bro, if we can get that Solo Sikoa every single week, that is like genuinely entertaining TV. One of the things that I said with the debut of JC Matteo was that this could bring life to Solo Sikoa. This could bring relevancy to Solo Sikoa to give us a reason to need to listen to him. And if we have to listen to him, then he can wow us with his honestly really underrated mic skills. But here's the thing, the second that Solo Sikoa won that Money in the Bank qualifier match, if you watch my reactions on Instagram or whatever social media platforms you might find them on, I immediately said, oh, Solo Sikoa is winning this, because when I look at the landscape of where the Money in the Bank briefcase makes the most sense at the moment, I feel like it makes the most sense to gun after somebody like Jey Uso, and Jey Uso is his brother, and Jey and Solo still have a lot of unfinished business, and Solo being the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, inserting himself into Jey Uso's championship reign, thus reinserting the bloodline and Jacob and JC Matteo into the picture, and maybe bringing Roman Reigns out of his hiatus could be fascinating, but it's also, you know, rehashing the same shit over and over again. But yeah, dude, I genuinely could see WWE giving Solo Sikoa the Money in the Bank briefcase. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think he might be a pretty viable and decent option to be carrying this thing around. Best SmackDown of the year: no John, no Randy, no Cody, no Roman, etc. Just a bunch of dope matches and entertaining characters. I don't think that this was the best SmackDown of the year, but it was definitely the SmackDown where time was maybe most efficiently used. SmackDown for the last several weeks has dragged, brother. It feels like it's a 6-hour show, even though it's only 3 hours. Those 3 hours do not get filled properly. And one of the things that they did with this episode of SmackDown, which I personally appreciate, was that they just jam-packed it with matches. It was just match after match after match, and most of the matches, dare I say pretty much all of them, were either worth watching or genuinely really good. So shout out to WWE for taking a moment of the year where honestly they could be easily struggling and people would understand, because like you said, no Randy, no John, no Cody, no Roman, but they managed to find a backdoor towards an entertaining show. And look at that, when you focus on the wrestling, you have an interesting and actually entertaining wrestling show. Spam is everywhere. I get spam calls, spam texts, spam emails, literally every single day. It's actually gotten to the point where I was getting more spam interactions than I was real human conversations through my phone and email. And I've tried to stop these by unsubscribing from unwanted newsletters or replying stop to these spam texts, but they just kept coming back and actually getting worse. The reason for this is that your personal information like phone number, email, address, name, and more are more likely available somewhere on the internet for these companies to buy and thus be able to spam you with unwanted messages. It's actually kind of messed up and scary when you really sit down to think about it, that these data brokers are profiting by selling your personal data to sketchy companies around the world. Seriously, who knows who has my personal information at this point? That's why I'm so happy to have partnered with today's video sponsor, Incogn. Incogn works for you by reaching out to these data brokers on your behalf and request that your personal data gets wiped from their data banks. They also take care of handling any objections or obstacles that these data brokers might put up, all on your behalf, all completely automated. My personal favorite feature with Incogn is the custom removals, which is available with the unlimited plan. Simply just point to a link where your personal information is being stored and let Incogn's privacy experts just handle the rest. Incogn even has a dashboard where you can actually keep track of their progress so that you can see what removal requests have been successful, how many they've sent out, or just see how many they're currently working on. And ever since partnering with Incogn for this particular video, my phone doesn't blow up with unwanted texts and my email is far far easier to manage with less junk. So folks, take your personal data back with Incogn and use code SANTIZAP at the link in the description below and get 60% off an annual plan. Again, that is code SANTIZAP to get 60% off to take your data back from these data brokers selling your information to the highest bidder around the world. Thanks again to Incogn for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get you back to talking about wrestling. LA Knight is truly stuck facing the Bloodline. It seems like he can never get a leg up against the Bloodline, and he still tries to chase them. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think that LA Knight should be considered one of the favorites to win Money in the Bank, and honestly, when I look at contextual clues, the fact that this guy continues to be hovering and surrounded by the Bloodline and WWE refuses to move him on to the next thing, to the next storyline, I think that they just sort of have him frozen in time to win the Money in the Bank briefcase, because when you have the briefcase, you can start a new storyline, a new plot in the blink of an eye. So why have LA Knight start something brand new if you are just gonna have him win Money in the Bank? I don't know. I'm just trying to be optimistic here for the LA Knight fans out there, because I think many people would consider LA Knight to be the favorite to win the Money in the Bank ladder match, and I honestly don't blame him. But I am excited at the prospect of LA Knight doing something outside of the Bloodline vortex that he's been stuck in forever. I don't know what that thing looks like, but I know it's out there and I know it's something that I want to see. But I will say, look, there's worse things than being stuck in the Bloodline vortex. At the very least, the Bloodline vortex is like one step away from being in the main event at any moment, any time. And if you're LA Knight, honestly, that's not the worst position to be in. You could just be stuck in catering. The Jade versus Naomi feud feels very underwhelming, and it's heading towards Rhea versus Liv levels of repetitiveness. I just hope that this feud doesn't fumble, considering how good it was at the start. Okay, I feel like we might be being a little bit too premature and sounding the alarm. All right, they've had one match, brother. All right, it's not getting to the levels of repetitiveness of Liv and Rhea Ripley. I will say that it is getting repetitive in terms of what they're doing every single week, which is just Naomi appearing and then running away at the sight of Jade Cargill. We need to do something a little bit more than that, and at some point or another, we need to see why this Naomi is so dangerous, because if she's just running away all the time, then to me, that doesn't necessarily scream, hey, this is a person that you need to fear. This is a person that could win the world title. Funnily enough, that was a complaint that I had about Liv Morgan as well. She just kept running away from Rhea Ripley. Holy crap, I actually am starting to agree with your hot take the more that I talk about it. And then what created the equalizer was the fact that Liv Morgan aligned herself with Raquel so that she could have the numbers game against Rhea Ripley. I don't know that we're going to have somebody get inserted into this picture to give Naomi a leg up. Personally, I would have liked Naomi to maybe outsmart Jade Cargill in that way and get an upper hand in that manner. But right now, she literally is just running away. Well, look at that. I talked myself into kind of agreeing with you. Not fully agreeing with you, because I still really like this feud, and I still think that there's a lot of places that it could go. I'm excited for future prospects of matches between these two, but the day in and day out buildup of this, of Naomi goes out, Jade Cargill's music hits, Naomi runs away, is getting a little bit old. At the end of every Fraxium match, I somehow like them even more. They are, hot take, the best NXT tag team of all time, and I'm so glad to see them flourish on the main roster now. Can we just accept the fact and the fundamental truth that Fraxium is the greatest NXT tag team of all time? I'm somebody that evangelizes and romanticizes the era of NXT Black and Gold. It's something that if you were there to experience, you knew it was special. And one of the best things about that era was tag team wrestling, DIY, Authors of Pain, Undisputed Era. There were so many great tag teams. And I'm sorry to say to those that have the rose-tinted glasses of NXT Black and Gold, Fraxium is better than any of those tag teams. Fraxium is the best NXT tag team of all time. Let's stop dancing around this. I'm also very glad that they are being pushed as a strong, as a scary tag team on the main roster as well. One of the things that I didn't want was for them to be treated like rookies, for them to have to climb their way and take way too long to get where they honestly deserve to be, because these are guys that were going head to toe with the freaking Hardys on TNA. So they don't need to be given the rookie treatment. And I'm so glad that WWE forewent that and threw them right into the lion's den and allowed them to wow the world with their awesome tag team maneuvers and their just overall really strong likability. I think that these guys are going to be the anchor of the tag team division, whichever show that they get put on. I'm going to be at Saturday night's main event, and honestly, I have high hopes hopes that it's going to be a fun and a great night. I can only hope that it's better than the last few Saturday night's main event. Here's the thing, you know what you're getting yourself into now, right? I feel like the first set of Saturday night's main event, there was a lot of hope, a lot of desire for big things to happen at Saturday night's main event. I feel like a lot of people convinced themselves that because it was going to be on primetime TV, that this is where WWE was going to bring the big guns, me included right here. I was bamboozled like everyone else, but now we know to not expect the big things to happen at Saturday night's main event. If you go into the show, whether you're going in person or just to watch it on TV, and you're just going into it expecting a fun night of wrestling as opposed to a ground shifting night of wrestling, I think that you're going to have a blast. I don't think that you need to overthink this. Just go enjoy the show, have a blast. After the Miz joining forces with Carmelo, his stocks have been growing, but am I seeing a little bit of tension between mentor and mentee? Oh, come on. You should know that by now that that's inevitably going to happen. At some point, these two are going to implode. At some point, we're going to get the feud between Carmelo Hayes and The Miz. I hope it's not anytime soon, because I do think that they're working together really, really well, and it is showcasing the best of Carmelo Hayes, both from an in-ring perspective, but from a character perspective as well. I love that WWE is protecting Carmelo Hayes. Last week, he lost because of a roll-up. That's a pretty common way to protect somebody. And this week, it was a no contest because of the inclusion of The Miz in the match and taking out Aleister Black. And it was Carmelo Hayes that stood tall after all of that. So WWE clearly is putting in the effort to make us care about Carmelo Hayes and to make Carmelo Hayes look and feel like a dangerous threat on WWE TV. And I appreciate that. Can I get all three to win? To be honest, LA Knight has to win this. I think it's pretty obvious that LA Knight is going to win this. I think when you look at the landscape of this match, right? Shinsuke Nakamura has done literally nothing for months. This is the first time that he's appearing on TV. To me, he's just there to take the pin, and Aleister Black is in this match to make you think that he's going to win, but The Miz and Carmelo Hayes are probably going to prevent him from winning. I feel like LA Knight is going to end up picking up the victory, pinning Shinsuke Nakamura. Thus, Aleister Black stays protected and continues his feud with The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. LA Knight is winning this. LA Knight is going to be in Money in the Bank in LA 100%. And the fact that he's got this thing going on with the bloodline and the fact that Solo made it to Money in the Bank tells me that they're going to continue that rivalry within the match as well. I want to see more of the Solo from the opening segment. I thought that that was amazing. Me too. Like, if they lean into this Solo Sakoa, I feel like he can genuinely find a spot, a permanent spot upon like the upper mid card of the WWE, and maybe sometimes getting those opportunities in the main event. Solo needs to be given the mic significantly more. It's kind of crazy to think about the fact that I'm asking for WWE to give this guy the mic more when he spent years being the brooding, quiet dude. But now that he's opened his mouth, I want to continue to see what that mouth can do. Hey, yo, I can't believe I just said that. You know what I mean, though. Yeah, give me more of this Solo Sakoa. I'm moving on from this hot take as soon as possible because I keep digging myself a grave with the more that I talk. I wish that John Cena versus R-Truth had been built up more. We could have had a great storyline, enough to make R-Truth look like the perfect guy to take the title and finally become world champion for the first time. So I actually completely disagree here. I feel like this is the perfect feud to rush. This is the perfect feud to throw at Saturday night's main event, precisely because even if they built R-Truth as an actual potential threat, no one was going to buy that he would actually be the one to dethrone John Cena, not in a million years. Instead, now we can just have a fun match between two guys that people really want to see go at each other. And it doesn't really need to be deeper than what we have. It's just the John Cena super fan versus the John Cena that now hates the fans. I feel like if you were to build this for several weeks, it might actually overstay its welcome. I feel like one and done, 2 weeks of build is the perfect type of environment for a match as wacky and as weird as R-Truth versus John Cena. Now, if this was like John Cena versus CM Punk happening at Saturday night's main event, I'd be pissed because that is an actual match and a storyline that I want to see develop more, because Punk is somebody that could dethrone John Cena. But this, as it stands, considering Saturday night's main event is now basically just a big, fun, glorified house show exhibition show, I feel like having John Cena have an exhibition type match here is kind of perfect. And I'm fine with WWE, one, not spending too much time and effort building this match that's clearly just an exhibition match, and two, most importantly, not burning any of John Cena's appearances on building just an exhibition match like this clearly is. I keep saying exhibition match as if it might be a negative, but it's not. Like, I'm genuinely excited to see this, but it's nothing more than that. Like, this isn't going to be a match that has long-lasting effects once the bell rings. I think R-Truth versus Cena will be a pivotal moment in Cena's heel run. He's either going to get more heel by beating Truth or realize what he's she's doing is wrong. May not be the match that people are looking for, but I'm very intrigued by this. Yeah, like I said, this is a look at yourself in the mirror. Look at what you're doing, John. Is this worth it? Is this the man that you want to be? Because R-Truth plays a really fascinating role. This isn't a wrestler. This is the fans. R-Truth is the physical manifestation of John Cena's fans getting inside the ring to have a match with him. And that's kind of insane. It's incredibly poetic to see the guy have his own fandom being shoved in his face, and now he has to physically take it out. He already broke up with us verbally, and now he has to beat us up via beating up R-Truth. That's kind of fucking awesome. Aside from the TLC, this was the best TV match of the year. The SmackDown Tag Team division might be the most consistently great division in the WWE. Yeah, I feel like cat's out of the bag. I feel like at this point, if you see the SmackDown Tag Team division, you know that you're in for a treat. I just wish, and I know that I've said this a million times, that they could just figure it out with Monday Night Raw. Because whenever the SmackDown Tag Team division, my eyes, ladies and gentlemen, are glued. I cannot stop watching, and I want more every single week, whether it's matches, backstage segments, because even their backstage interactions are really interesting. Meanwhile, on Monday Night Raw, when I see the tag team division on screen, that's my bathroom break. That's when I can zone out and not pay attention. And typically, that it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't really have anywhere near as lasting power or as general intrigue as what's going on over on SmackDown. And this is the same company, by the way. How can they have it sorted out in one place but not in the other? I love the idea of Julia joining SmackDown, but I can't lie. I really thought that we were leading to some big matches on Monday Night Raw. So one of the complaints that I had with the stuff that was going on with Julia and Roxanne Perez was that I keep saying that we needed a definitive answer. Where is Julia? Is Julia on NXT or is she on Monday Night Raw? And I had a lot of people in my live stream saying that it doesn't matter, just enjoy the ride. But it did matter. It did matter because a main roster fan shouldn't be getting emotionally attached to Julia if WWE is just gonna send her right back to NXT, kind of like they did with the Metaphor girls when they got called up for a little while for that awesome championship program in the women's tag team division. They went right back down to NXT, and anyone that got invested in them that only watched the main roster is now all sad and depressed. Now, this is great news. Now that we know that Julia is on SmackDown, now we can get invested in her storylines and feuds on Friday Night SmackDown. Now we can start to fantasy book the stuff that she can do on Friday Night SmackDown. Now it's real, as opposed to just being a thing that may or may not actually be happening. I'm glad that we got a definitive answer. The name change to JC Matteo is completely unnecessary and makes him have a whole lot less aura than the name established as Jeff Cobb. Why call him Jeff Cobb one week, then change it to JC Matteo the next? Why not just initially say it's JC Matteo? Super frustrating. Me, as a wrestling fan that's been around now for, holy smokes, like 23 years watching the product, I'm used to this. I'm used to people just getting their name changed. To me, this is a tale as old as time. They're still doing it pretty regularly. They just changed Ricky Starks to Ricky Saints, for example, but they don't do it with everybody. They let Ethan Page keep his name, for example. So it's not as if it's a universal thing anymore. It used to be universal. If you came in with a name made somewhere else, WWE wasn't going to let you wrestle under that name. I do find it weird that they debuted him and called him Jeff Cobb. Why not have the name JC Matteo immediately at the ready? I don't understand that. I don't think the name change is like a huge deal, but I do think that it's kind of frustrating. It's a little bit annoying, but more than anything, it's just, it's weird and confusing. I wish I knew why some get a name change and why some don't. I really would love to have somebody explain that to me. Like, is it star power that you bring in? Is it something to do with legality in terms of copyright of the name? I don't know. There is no need to explain who will be the next United States champion. I think that this would be a perfect decision. I feel like Julia would be a fantastic next US champion. I feel like she would be a great feud for Zelina Vega as well. I feel like they could put on a solid match. And honestly, the strap on somebody like a Julia is one, a way to help the overall legitimacy of the US title, but also a great way to signal that when somebody gets called up from NXT, it freaking matters. Because how many times have we seen people get called up from NXT, especially on the women's side, by the way, and they just do nothing with them? If they can make a statement with Julia right off the rip, then I feel like moving forward, there's going to be a lot more intrigue with these NXT call-ups, especially from people that have never watched NXT. Because obviously, me and you, the ones that are the hardcore that watch everything, including NXT, we know what Julia is all about. We're excited for for Julia, but if they can really cement her to the casuals that only watch the main roster and immediately have her do something big like win the US title, that would be huge for her. Honestly, I think the reason WWE refuses to utilize the tag team division on pay-per-view is because they view them as an easy way to get eyes on the weekly product, and those dollars don't matter more to them because there is no way Fraxium versus the Street Profits is a Smackdown match. Yeah, it does feel like WWE is a little bit allergic to having these big tag team matches on PLEs. I don't think it's because of that. I think it's because WWE just wants to make sure that they can pad out all 3 hours of SmackDown, and a solid tag team division is honestly a pretty smart way to do it. And considering that they have already done the biggest tag match in a really, really long time on Friday Night SmackDown, the TLC match, it doesn't surprise me that these future tag team world championship matches are just going to be on SmackDown moving forward. Jacob Fatu is the most over wrestler on the roster. He hasn't even turned babyface yet and should hold that US title forever. You know what I mean? I'm sorry for butchering that. Jacob Fatu is insanely over, and it's only a matter of time before he becomes the top babyface of Friday Night SmackDown. To me, it's clear as hell. He's just too cool. He's too cool to be a heel that gets hated. That's just a fact of life at this point. How can you look at Jacob Fatu and not get behind what this guy is all about from a character point of view, from his promos, from his in-ring? All of it is so good and so cool. They waited way too long to do Tiffy versus Nia. This needed to be Tiffy's first big feud. Since it wasn't, it lost a lot of what made this match meaningful. Then they tried it hard to make it special, like Nia being the first to kick out of the PME, which I also felt like it was wasted in this match. I feel like you do make some excellent points. I do believe that this match would have hit way harder if they had done this come Elimination Chamber, for example, where they instead decided to do a kind of an irrelevant tag team match. I feel like had she had this victory under her belt, a victory where she kicked out of the Annihilator, a victory where she left Nia Jax bloodied in the middle of the ring, she would have had so much momentum going into WrestleMania. I feel like she desperately needed that momentum. I agree. I feel like the payoff of this came a little bit too late, but I'm at the very minimum happy that they at least paid it off. And I'm also happy that they had this monkey off her back. The fact that she had never been able to properly beat Nia Jax in a singles environment because she'd only pinned her in a tag match. She'd only been able to pin her cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now we have the definitive win, and we can now actually move on from this without this looming over her head. Desperately, SmackDown needs to go back to 2 hours. Yep, isn't it supposed to go back to 2 hours in like a couple of weeks? I thought it was supposed to be like June or July, so I think we're getting that wish sometime soon. Can we all give this woman her flowers? Because oh my god, she's been delivering a lot, and I know some people don't like her, but for me, she's awesome, and I wouldn't actually mind if she won that match. Match of the year candidate for me, by the way. I mean, I've been giving her flowers for a really, really long time. The internet refuses to give her flowers, but I feel like anyone that's got eyeballs knows that Nia Jax has been doing a great job in the position that she's been in over the last couple of years. Since coming back to the WWE, she's had much better matches. She's been a lot safer. Her character has become a lot better. But you know how wrestling fans can be, man. We can be fickle. If there is somebody that we didn't like in the past because of X, Y, or Z, we kind of just carry that hatred with them for the rest of their career. That's just how wrestling fans are. But I agree, man. She's been fantastic. Great match there with Tiffany Stratton, and she does absolutely deserve her flowers. That's not to say that she's perfect, by the way. She definitely has some wonky moments. I'll say that, like the whole chair swing thing at Survivor Series War Games. They did Chelsea Green incredibly dirty by including Alexa Bliss in the Money in the Bank qualifier match this week. Green deserves a spot in the Money in the Bank match. Hopefully, there is a last-minute loser redemption qualifier match to put one of the women who lost in that match. Yeah, so we talked about maybe a last chance qualifier with Rey Fenix. I would love for them to do one here to give Chelsea Green the opportunity to get back into this match. I wanted both of them in the match, so when I saw that they were fighting in the same qualifier, my heart just kind of broke, my stomach sank, because I did want Alexa Bliss over Chelsea Green. But Chelsea Green, after losing the US title, to me, this would have been a great natural progression for her, and her as Miss Money in the Bank with the Secret Hervis there is kind of a perfect character to be carrying around the Money in the Bank briefcase. So I really, really hope that we get one more chance with Chelsea Green. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this episode of Hot Takes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.